Hi, everyone. This is Melissa Rondo, true crime therapist, and I am here today with Whitney Galloway. Hi, Whitney.
Hi.
Hi. So prior to recording this, the audience already has some information about the Pike County Massacre, also known as the Ohio Massacre. And I wanted, first we know that 8 people lost their lives, Hannah Gilley and the Roden family. And part of this particular podcast episode is I know you lost your best friend, Hannah Gilley, in that horrific murder, and really wanted to provide some education about the trauma that you personally experienced and what that was like for you losing someone really close to you. So thank you for being here today.
Yeah, no problem.
So I guess we can start if you could. I know these murders took place between April 21st and 22nd of 2016. Could you take me back to start with your relationship with Hannah, how you met, and tell me of that friendship and what that relationship was like?
So we met in high school. Um, it was me, her, and another friend that was a female. She kind of introduced us, but then from like it was junior year of our high school, and then we were all just like we hung out all every day, all day long. We text, we called, we would plan sleepovers that our parents would say, "Oh my gosh, not today." You know, we just were like the typical high school girls that would always want to be with each other.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. What year are we talking?
2013, 2014.
Okay, so super tight, really good friends, hanging out all the time, considered each other best friends.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And you're in what county are we talking about right now?
We're It was in Sauter County, so that's right beside Pike County. But the
Okay.
school we met at was actually a trade school. So I
Oh, okay.
and the other female, we went to the cosmetology program, and then Hannah was in early childhood development. So
Oh, nice. Okay, so that's how you sort of started hanging out. Now, did you guys have boyfriends at the time, or you dating people, or
yes, and Hannah wasn't. Not that, she ever really told us about. The only boyfriend I ever knew would have been Frankie. So I don't think she was dating him in high school, though. I think it was after high school.
okay. All right. Yeah, so tell me more about that. So you guys are hanging out and best friends, and then she meets Reiki Roden.
Mhm. Well, like after high school, sometimes you just like not grow apart, but like just so you're going to college or you're starting jobs and we have each other on Facebook and we would message on Facebook, how are you? What's going on in your life? And then Hannah and Frankie started, they were pretty serious. Like it was the first boy I seen her have on her Facebook or,
Right.
I was like, okay. And
Right.
then
And it's
I
getting serious.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then find out that they were pregnant. And I was like, oh, wow. So, yeah, you know, they're together. Cool.
Yeah.
Um, so then once, Hannah found out she was pregnant, I was, I mean, how are you feeling? Do you need anything? Um, and then when she had her son, I worked at the hospital she had him at the
Well, that was
time.
convenient to
I
see each
know.
other.
It was funny though because I couldn't take my break yet, but I obviously could go up there because I had access to go up there.
Sure.
So I actually hid in the bathroom when the other so I was a housekeeper, and then when the other housekeeper came in, I hid in the bathroom and like held the door so she couldn't open the door to come and like clean in there. And I was like, "Someone's in here," so I didn't miss anything, and I could be there. And yeah,
That was a
sorry.
good strategy. That was a good plan. Oh,
Yeah.
clever. So you were able to see her while she was in the hospital.
And being there. I kind of spent most of my shift that time in
Okay.
there.
So did that like start the kind of the reconnection of your friendship?
Yeah. So after that, we just kind of went from there. We hung out. she didn't have her license, and so I would drive up there to see them and take her out because Frankie would be at work, she'd be stuck in the house. And I think of like postpartum, and
Yeah.
getting out can help, or having people around you can help. So we would go and I would take her, we could have lunch, we would drive around, we there really is nothing in Pike County, so we'd go to the dollar store or to Rural King.
You know, I was literally going to ask you the same thing. I was like, I don't really know Pike County. So like, what kind of things did you guys do together?
Literally, we would just go to like those stores. And one day we went to Rural King, and they had like, you know how they have like displays of like outside furniture, stuff like
Yeah.
that. We sat on the outside furniture for an hour in the store and just hung out there because there was nothing else to do. People would walk by and just stare at us, but we didn't care.
You're really redefining like
Yeah,
a small town that doesn't have a lot going on.
it's so true.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys are hanging out, you're hanging out at like Dollar Tree and hanging out on furniture at stores. Um,
Yeah.
and then
And
just talking about life and right, being friends.
she had she wanted to go. We have a thing, it's called trade days. I see it as like a big yard sale for anybody who wants to just sell their junk. No offense to
Sure.
anybody if they
Yeah,
listen
I
to
got you.
this. You know.
Yeah, yeah. It's
But
an official name for a yard sale.
yeah, yeah. So they call it trade days. We went to it, and that's when I first met Jake Wagner.
Okay.
He
He
was there.
just happened to be there with someone else, or who was he?
He was selling like horse stuff where they had the farm.
Okay.
He had saddles sitting out from what I remember, like tack for horses, bits, bridle, like all kinds of stuff. So he, of course, said hi to Frankie, picked up their son, played with their son, said hi to me, said hi, just like a normal person would, that
Yeah,
that was in the family somewhat, but so
sure. So who else were you there with?
it was me, Hannah, Frankie, one of Frankie's friends, and I think that was it. It was just us four, but we obviously would like run into people we knew.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Now, like your first impression, what was it of him?
Well, I had first, I kind of had an idea of who Jake was, like how he treated Hannah Roden.
Okay.
Off that, I was like, "Ugh, I don't know if I like him,
Yeah,
But
right.
meeting him in person and seeing, I mean, he put on a show that day too. So
Charming? Is he friendly? Was he
yeah, just
standoffish?
so nice.
Serious?
No, so nice. Wanting to hold the baby, wanting to, you know, love you guys. Let me see my nephew. Which, knowing now, it's like you're disgusting.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. How could you say you want to be like connecting with this baby when you're about to do this horrific thing to the baby's parents? Yeah,
Mhm.
got it. Um, so, did you ever hear about what Hannah or Frankie, their impression of Jake, or was that also talked about or not a thing yet? So much.
I didn't like the way that Jake Wagner treated Hannah Roden.
Okay. So he had a
She's
reputation.
Yeah, so I mean, from what I've been told from Frankie and Hannah Gilly, he was very abusive.
Okay. Yeah. So there was already some talk amongst all of you that he was an abusive guy.
Right. And
Got
I
it.
had just gotten out of an abusive relationship. So I was like, nah, I can see you. Like I see how you're
Yeah.
being.
Yeah. Like you mean like you can spot the red flags or you can kind of
Yeah,
see through people?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, why are you putting on such a show? Who are you
Mm,
really?
yes. Yeah. We call that right, like superficial charm.
Yeah.
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 Not being authentic, wanting to be seen a certain way by other people. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, it can also be a little bit of like a way to control the conversation, because if he's being really kind and charming and affectionate with the baby, then it's kind of like, oh, maybe those rumors about him being abusive, maybe they're not true, right? It's kind of like manipulation. Yeah,
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 100% manipulating.
right. So, okay, so you meet him for the first time, and then tell me more.
I didn't, well, from that day, so that was a few, like maybe a week before the murders.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't realize the timing. Wow. Well, that just adds more content to the conversation.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
few weeks before the murder. I want to say two, but I can't remember the exact day. I knew that was the last thing like we all went to together.
Okay.
So, yeah, then, it changes a lot of things because I'm like, I just met you and you talked to them in front of me
Mm-hmm.
and you can go in and murder them. Like, just blows your mind what people are capable of.
Right. Yes. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, again, it's like that, I can't make a diagnosis on the show, but those type of traits are commonly psychopathic traits, right? Where it's just um a person with psychopathic traits can seem incredibly normal and charming, and you would never know they're capable of committing horrific crimes, which is what makes it so scary.
Yeah.
And it makes you, when you meet someone, you always have in the back of your head, who is this person really?
Hmm.
What are they capable of?
Yeah. Yeah, I have that all the time now.
Right. Yes. And I know we're
When I
definitely,
meet, I'm like, who? I'm like, mm.
yeah.
Ask too many questions about my personal life. I'm like, why? Why do you
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that suspiciousness of
Mhm.
like, well, why are you trying to gain information on me? Right. Yeah. Okay, so this is like a week before, a week or two, you said? Yeah,
For the murders, yeah.
about that. Okay, so there were any red flags that week or anything leading up to it, or what's that like
One of
for you?
my thing I seen, well, this was not leading up to it, this was after.
Okay.
He didn't come to the church when they had everybody come to the church the day of. And his reason was I don't want Sophia up here, their daughter. And I'm like, I understand that. I get that. Um,
Yeah.
Another red flag was he colored his hair.
Mm,
And
what color was it? Well,
his,
before,
his hair was blonde.
okay,
And then he colored it jet black.
yeah.
So that to me was like, why are you coloring your hair? And I remember asking somebody who was more in contact with him, like, why did he color his hair? That's so like that's so different for here, you know?
Here meaning like your town.
Yeah, like yeah. Yeah.
You don't normally see men
Not I
who
mean,
are,
not do something so dramatic. Like what he
mhm.
did. This was so dramatic. Okay, you have blonde hair, but you just dyed it jet black. Well, that's weird. Why?
We sort of talked about this a little offline, right? How demographically Pike County is mm, country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is not the metrosexual New York City guy who's like
Right.
walking around with like slick black hair, which it wouldn't seem odd or out of place, but in the country, in Pike County, in a small town, someone suddenly doing something that drastic gets
Mhm.
noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I told BCI, I was like, don't you think that's weird? Don't you think that's weird he colored his hair jet black? I went to beauty school. Like
Mm, yeah, right.
I was like,
You're,
oh no.
you're like an insider too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's different.
For people who don't know, can you explain what BCI is?
It's a Bureau of Criminal Investigations, I think, is what that
Yep.
stands for.
Yep. And they
Uh,
said they were just kind of asking you questions about what you knew.
yeah, well, so they they pull phone records and like all that stuff, and they're like, "Why are you and Hannah were on the phone for a long time? You guys were on the phone for like 4 or 5 hours at a time each day." And I was like, "Well, we were just talking on the phone. I don't know."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people can't understand that. I'm like, but based on your context, that there wasn't a lot to do, like you said,
Yeah.
right?
And
And
I,
connecting on the phone is
yeah.
how you do it.
And I live pretty far. At the time, I lived in Greenup County, which is in Kentucky.
So
So
tell me what that drive is like. So when
about an
you, wow, how long?
hour.
Okay, so that day you met Hannah and you guys were, going to the yard
Hmm.
sale thing. It was about an hour drive to get down
For
there.
me. Yeah.
For you, got it. So can you bring me back to the day or that around that April 21st, 22nd? Had you had any contact with her prior to that or that day or and also how did you find out?
So I think the last time I spoke to her, which wasn't, it was over Facebook Messenger, was the 20th. I was in the middle of moving. Um, I was only, I think, maybe 18, 19. So I was trying to pay all my bills by myself. Um,
Nice.
my phone only worked on Wi-Fi at that time. So anytime I'd get Wi-Fi message, we'd we'd message back and forth, telling her, "Oh, I'm getting moved in," and "Oh, I'm excited for you." We talked about,
Did you say she moved in?
I was moving.
You were moving. And where was she living at that time?
I was still with Frankie in the trailer
Okay, just the two of them with,
with their son, and then Frankie's oldest would come.
okay,
I
that's
don't
what
know. Yeah.
I was trying to clarify how many kids. Yeah, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're living in the trailer. Um, and you're talking by when you get the Wi-Fi, you guys are able to communicate. Got it.
And then it was like, "Oh, well, just normal talk," and then, "We'll love you too. I'll talk to you later." Um, the 21st, I didn't get to talk to her. Um, and then I was at work on the 22nd
Okay.
when the friend that I told you about that we were all close with called me, and she was like, "Have you spoke to Hannah?" And I was like, "Oh, I talked to her a few days ago," which I mean, it wasn't unusual to not hear from her, and she slept in because she'd be up all hours of the night with the baby.
Makes sense.
So I was like, well, maybe she's asleep. I was like, she could be asleep. So I texted her, no text back. Um, there was no like TV in the where I was working or anything to like for the news to pop up or something's happened. And then I looked at her Facebook and people were saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Like all over her Facebook wall, and
Right.
I'm like, what in the world? So I just start to kind of panic, thinking, okay, something's really wrong. And I looked at my employer and I was like, I think I need to leave. I was like, well, I was like, I'm going to leave on my lunch and I might be a little late coming back. And I told our friend, I was like, I'll come pick you up and we'll go over there and just check on things. And then she called me back because her sister, our friend, her sister was Hannah Roden's boyfriend at the time. Her
Okay.
sister was married to Hannah Roden's boyfriend's sister.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a lot to say. But they ended up going over there and the road was shut down and no one could go on the road. So she called me and said, "I think Hannah's dead." And I'm like, "No, I still don't know everything. And I'm like, "No, you're being dramatic. She's probably asleep." No, she's like, "No, they won't let us on the road. Something's happened."
And her trailer was the only one on that particular road.
No, they were all on the same road.
Okay. Okay, good clarification. Okay, so that entire road where to
Was shut.
access all the trailers was shut down. Are these trailers just for like Hannah, Gilly, and the Roden family, or is
It
it
was
like other people living there too?
no, it was there's other people on the road that live there.
Okay. Okay.
It was like Hannah and Frankie's. Right next door was Chris Senior's, and then a little bit down the road was Dana and the rest of them.
Okay. Got it.
But um, I left. I didn't wait for my lunch. I left.
Sure.
And I was like, "You guys can fire me. I'm leaving. I will call you later." Because I'm like panicked. I'm thinking of the babies. I'm thinking of, what's what's really going on. So I take off and I'm starting to go up towards Pike County.
Mhm.
And then I thought, no, I'm going to turn around because what if I get there and there's really nothing that I can talk, there's no one I can talk to. So then I get the clarification that they were all murdered as I'm driving back. And
How do you receive that communication?
I get a phone call
Okay.
from our friend.
Okay.
And I remember pulling over because I was like, well, does her mom know? Like, obviously, her mom probably knew. Like, they were probably the first ones to know. But I'm just thinking, does her mom know? Does her sister know? Like, all the things. And I messaged her sister, and she doesn't message me back. So I'm like, they have to know something. So I'm like, I'm just going home because I can't. I'm sobbing. Like, who would
Yeah.
murder them? Who would murder the baby? Like, at the time, we thought babies were murdered. Like,
Yeah. You didn't have all the information at the
right.
time. Did you have any suspicions at this point?
No, well, I was there right before it happened too, and there was a threat made to little Chris.
Hmm.
And we're young, we're like, well, let's go chase him down and
Right.
and, and confront him, and because they showed up to their house, the people that made the first threat to them.
Okay.
uh Frankie came out, their dad came out, you know where they were going to fight because Chris was only, he was like 16,
Yeah,
15,
this is unrelated to the Wagners.
yeah,
I got
unrelated.
it. Okay. Yep.
But that was the first person I thought was,
Got
oh my
it.
gosh, they really came in and did something. And I'm thinking it was them, and that we chased them in my car. So I'm like, could I be next if it was them? You know.
Sure.
Um, well, so then Hannah's sister calls me, and I pull over, and because I'm getting ready to cross the bridge to go back into Kentucky. And she's like, Ruger is alive, but Hannah's dead. And sorry.
Oh, it's normal.
Um, and I remember just I felt, I don't even know. I just went numb. Like everything just, when
Yeah.
she said that Ruger was alive, I was like, oh thank God. But then when she said but Hannah's dead, it felt like someone just like shot me, if that makes sense. Or like
Yeah. Like stunned, like shocked, stunned.
shocked, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was telling her about those people making those threats, and she told me to come up to the church. And so I turned around and I drove up to, I the only way I knew to get to the church though was to go on the road of Hannah's house.
Yeah.
And obviously I was stopped by State Highway Patrol. They had the road blocked off. And seeing that made it all real.
Yeah,
More
sure.
um so I'm sobbing, going to the church, like I get up there, Hannah's sister comes and hugs me, her mom comes and hugs me. Um, the one I see Bobby Joe, who made the 911 call, who found them. She doesn't even have her shoes on. They took her shoes. They, you know,
Yep.
for all evidence purposes.
Starting to make things real.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, this is really happening. Like this is, and I see our friends, the one that we went to trade days with. I'm seeing like all these people were up there, and I had to go talk to BCI to let them know. Like, and at the time, I knew the guys' names. I don't remember now, but
Sure.
I knew all of that. Gave it to them. Hannah's mom came, and we just waited until the governor of Ohio came, and he asked us all to come in and sit down. And then he told us how they were killed and how many were killed.
Yeah.
And the governor looked at all of us and told us to make sure we carry and to be alert. And, you know,
Do you have a license to carry?
yes.
Ah, okay.
I do. Um, he
I
said,
do too.
yeah, he said to protect ourselves by any means.
Okay.
And I'm sure he was more talking to like the Rodens and the Gillies, but at the time we didn't know who did it.
Sure.
And so Hannah's mom pulled me aside after it was time to leave, and she had a state highway patrol escort me home.
Oh,
She said, I want her escorted home until we find out who it is. So we had a plan. If I thought someone was being suspicious, or if they thought someone was being suspicious, they would pull me over, or I would pretend I was having car trouble, turn my flashers on, and pull over, and I'd get in the police car.
okay. Yeah, that's a good plan. That's
Yeah.
can you see the community trauma part of that? Like the community's traumatized in the sense that everyone is on high alert, fight or flight, looking over their shoulder. Everything feels uncertainty, fear, right? I mean, you can see, like, I know right now people who are listening to this and they can't watch it. I mean, I can see right now looking at you, that pain is very much living inside of you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to stop and get gas, and he went in and checked the gas station out before he'd let me go in.
Well, that's good. How did that feel for you with that extra layer of precaution?
Um, I don't, I mean, it was a little traumatizing because, I mean, I'm just a 19-year-old kid, like,
Hmm?
and I have a police officer escorting me through Pike County, Side County into Greenup. That's
Sure.
incredible.
Yeah.
So people don't realize what all can happen when things like this happen.
Yeah. Yeah. This is that's incredibly, you're really making a lot of people aware. You're right. Like this is how it impacts not just you, but also how it impacted the community.
Mm. Yeah, and then after I got home, um, I sold my car.
Okay.
They was ready to sell my car because we didn't know who did it. Um,
Wait,
they
I don't understand the connection between selling your car and not knowing.
I had well, with when we chased the people that made the first threat.
Oh,
It was
got
just
you. In case
my
they
car.
identified your car.
Yeah. And
Wow.
I was the only one with Kentucky plates over there, and I had a bright yellow car. It was very easy to spot, and I was told not to drive my car into Pike County.
I got you now. Well,
So
that's pretty real when you're like actually taking the time to sell your car because you are so scared that you could get potentially identified and bad harm could come to you. That's serious.
I did not sleep that first night because I was so scared. At the time I didn't own a firearm.
Mm.
Um, my boyfriend at the time called his mom and said, "Can we borrow one until we know
Sure.
what's going to happen?" And I didn't sleep. Every noise, every like I'm sure these are noises that happen all throughout the night anyways. Like your house
Hmm.
makes a noise or your furnace turns on. Any noise. I was awake, scared.
Your body, your mind, your body was scanning
Hmm.
for threats,
Yeah.
right? Like looking, like feeling like a prey animal,
Yeah.
right? For real. Just like scanning the environment, looking for threats, trying to detect any sight, smell, sound that
Mhm.
could create any danger for you.
Yep. And that's what I did for a while. I wouldn't leave my house. When I did leave, I would make sure I was in a different vehicle until I could sell my vehicle.
Yeah.
I made sure someone was with me. Um, trying to think what else I would double check all my locks. Um, I would change my routine.
Smart. Yeah.
I didn't have a routine.
Yeah. Right. You switch things up.
Mhm. Even if I really didn't want to go somewhere, I would go somewhere just so, you know.
Yeah. I know at this point too, you don't even know who you're afraid of.
Yeah.
Okay. You're just, there's a threat. There's a threat out there.
And I made the comment, after during the funerals and stuff, when we were standing in there, I was like, it could be somebody in here and we don't even know it.
True. Yeah, that's true. You're sort of looking at everyone around you being like, is it you? Could it be you? That's right. How long did this go on for that you're living sort of in this state of hypervigilance?
When they, so they ended up, finding the people that made the first threat. Um, he had an alibi. There was video camera footage of him at work. He was clean.
Okay.
So
Got it.
once I knew that, I was like, kind of gave me a little bit of a, okay, like I know it wasn't him.
Right.
You know,
But then where did that leave it? Did you think, okay, if it's not him, are you thinking like this could be a stranger or this could be someone the family knows? Like, were you
yeah, I knew it had to be someone that they knew. They had cameras everywhere. They had a thing where when someone pulled onto their property, it would immediately sense, and the camera would be on them.
right?
Your dogs. I was over there all the time, and Chris Senior's dogs. If they don't know you, they come at you.
Were they aggressive, sort of
Yeah, they
barking
don't know
and
you. Yeah,
alerting?
yeah. So I knew right then it had to be someone they knew. And Frankie and Hannah would they nailed their window shut because little Chris would come in and steal their pop out of their
Okay.
and they would get that on their nerves. So he'd be like, "My gosh!" And so he nailed the window shut because he could always get into the window. So
Okay.
I'm like, "There's
So
no
they
way."
were kind of like protected in there in a sense,
Yeah,
right?
it's just weird. They would sometimes leave their door unlocked, but you don't think it's such a small town and like
Got it.
no one would just come up into your house, you know? And so when their door was locked, that's what made Bobby Joe be like, "What in the world? Why is your door
Mm,
locked?" You know?
Suspicious.
Yeah. So now I will I when I walked outside just a little bit ago, I locked the door and I was locked myself out of my house because I'm just so used to making sure things are locked. Drives my
You
husband
weren't like that before this happened,
nuts. I could leave my door unlocked all day long.
right?
I make sure everything's locked, especially if I'm home and I'm, by myself.
It's not just you. I talked to several FBI agents that have been retired on this podcast,
Mhm.
and that's probably one of the things I hear from any FBI agent. They're like, just keep your doors locked. Even when
Yeah.
you're at home, even when you feel safe, just keep it locked. Can't hurt, right?
Yeah. Yep. There's days I will like I have a security system and I set my security system even if I'm home.
Yeah, so you feel better with the extra layer
Yeah.
of precaution.
Hmm.
So, okay, so you're kind of like not sure at this point who it could be, and then what happens next?
It was kind of just up in the air for a little bit. We didn't know. The biggest thing that stood out to me, and I'm sure everybody else, was the Wagners moved to Alaska.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that doesn't scream I'm suspicious. I
yeah,
moved
right.
to Alaska.
Yeah, the,
Jake's point was I moved out here to keep my daughter away from the murders. Or I don't know how.
oh, you mean like pretending like
Yeah, like he
he
was trying to
wasn't the
protect
murderer and like that he was concerned about what happened and that he wanted to keep himself and her safe. So he's going to create as much distance as possible from Pike County,
her. Right.
correct?
Mhm.
Now, so he's got the jet black hair and now there's a big move to Alaska, right?
And he moves to,
Um,
yeah, sells everything. Sells absolutely everything. The cheapest you could sell it to. So that was like, that's weird. Why
did
are
you
you?
buy any of his stuff?
No, nobody's.
Okay.
I thought once the hair turned for me, I was like, you are suspicious.
Right. You're like,
You're
okay,
suspicious.
I don't really want your toaster. No,
Yeah.
yeah, got it. Um, so now at this point, have you spoke to him or anyone else in that family?
I spoke to him on Facebook and told him like I'm so sorry. If there's anything you need, let me know. It's got to be so, traumatic for you and for, Sophia. I'm here if you need. Just even though what I was told about him, that's I'm thinking of like this is such a traumatic thing for so many people and I don't why not reach out and just say, "Hey, I'm here."
Sure,
And
yeah, you're being empathetic and you're
yeah,
just being kind and putting it out there. I get it.
and his response was, "Oh, that's so that's so nice. Thank you. I don't know how I'm going to explain this to Sophia. I don't know how I'm going to explain that her mother's not here anymore." And knowing what I know now, I'm like, you are disgusting. You're just
Yeah, right? I know.
Mhm.
Acting like he's the victim and he's got
Bringing
this
it to the
like
funeral.
burden of explaining this horrific thing to his daughter. Yeah.
And then him going to the funerals and just
So he attended them as well.
and I'm pretty sure in the pictures of him attending, he had black hair.
Wow. So he was already like in his disguise,
Hmm.
trying to, yeah. Wow. So does he take you up on your offer of support in any way?
No, other than that, that was it. He didn't
Okay.
we didn't speak after that or anything.
No contact.
Mm.
So what was it like for you then when you found out about the suspicion that they were guilty or the arrest or
I I'm just trying to figure out why. Like, why are you suspicious? Like what I mean, it was such a like you couldn't talk about anything. No evidence could be talked about. Nothing. Like it was all they and I know why now because they wanted to make sure they had everything right. And it was because if this was who it was going to be or who did it, they want to make sure there was no way they could get any kind of I don't know what the word is, any kind of anything, I guess. Like this
yeah,
was
just that there was no way that
they
they
could get
couldn't
out of
be
it.
found guilty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So when they started saying him, I was like, that's just so weird. Like that's so weird to me. Why? And but then I'm like, why? I took it as Hannah, wrong place. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Um, and that was my biggest thing. And I feel like that could be why some people only say the rodents. Because Hannah, she wasn't technically a rodent yet. She was going to be.
Sure.
Um, but not only did this affect them, it affected the Gillies. I mean, someone lost their daughter, someone lost their sister, someone lost I mean, I lost my best friend. They lost their niece.
Sure.
There's so many people that I don't think the Wagners realized that they affected.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That the ripple effect that
Mm-hmm.
taking one person's life, the impact that it has on everyone else's lives.
Hmm. So I just, I wanted to know why. I, I wanted to know why, and I wanted to know what Hannah had to do with it, and I wanted to know why did you? I know how many times she was shot. Like why? why that many times?
Yeah, right.
Was she awake? Was she, was she fighting? Was she,
Do you feel like you got all those details and that information?
yes. During George Wagner's trial,
Mm-hmm.
they Jake didn't wish to be filmed for the trial, so he but they like typed it all out. And so I was reading things, and um the reason he wasn't going to kill Hannah Gilley. She moved in her sleep, and that's when he shot her because he thought she was going to wake up and see him.
And who was she shot by for people who are listening?
Jake Wagner.
Yeah. So Jake Wagner shot
Mhm.
her. You're saying his original plan was not to do that,
Yeah.
but then,
She like when you're asleep and you go or like you like have a big sigh, or you start to
hmm,
move a little bit, that's he just shot her. And I think that got me the worst because I thought you were going to be saved. You would have been
yeah,
saved, and you got just from a small movement.
yeah, it's hard. It's really, that's hard. It's a hard detail to really make sense of. I always say murder is irrational,
Mhm.
to begin with, but a detail like that, you're right. Like that split second between life and death is over like a breath.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
I believe there's another trial coming up.
Yeah, it's Billy Wagner's. They're actually supposed to be sentencing Jake and Angela Wagner soon, and they are letting friends and family confront Jake. And I wanted to, but I don't think I should.
Why not?
I just, because I don't think I could not come over the podium, to be honest.
Because you're going to be emotional or because you were going to release some anger, some rage.
Yeah, the rage and the anger, and I felt like they took my innocence, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't trust people. I'm just not the same person I was before all of this.
Well
And I
said.
I
Yeah.
don't think I will ever be. And people are like, "Oh, it's made you stronger. It's made you no, it's gave me PTSD. It's gave me anxiety. It's gave me, so many things like that I did not want to have. It's made me
Sure.
not be able to trust anybody. It's made me, I don't know, overthink everything."
So, it that's I know it's a personal to you whether or not you choose
Hmm.
to have an impact statement, but it can also be really empowering
Hmm.
to confront someone and hopefully look them in the eyes and let them know the impact that their crime had on your life. It's something for you to think about because it can, for some people, be incredibly healing. Um, and it's
I
an appropriate place also to be angry and to say angry things and to raise your voice. You don't have to be the nice girl in court, or you don't have to be the good girl. That is the place to express anger if you chose to.
I I want to look him. I feel like it's crazy that I want to do this, but I want to look him in the eye. Like I just want to see him and like let him know like you might have got me down for a little bit, but I'm coming back. Like I'm going to come back and be better, and you know, I'm not scared of you. And I'm not, I don't know if that
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Like, hey, you stole my innocence, but I'm rebounding. I'm recovering. I went from, you know, victim to survivor to thriver mode. And
Yeah.
now, you're not going to take the rest of my life away from me, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, from 2016 it's like I've been in a freeze, if that makes sense too. I haven't grown much from that. Does that make sense? Like, not that I haven't grown, but like I've been stuck in this scared of everything, everybody, and now I'm starting to be more okay.
So you know that there's uh, fight, flight, freeze, and there's also a fawn response. So these are the ways that our body handles trauma, and fight and flight are like the stress responses. But when someone says, I feel frozen, that is a true primitive reptilian trauma response. It means that your body had to kind of shut everything down
Hmm.
to kind of cope with the overwhelm that your nervous system felt.
Okay.
Okay, so that is what I think that's what you're describing to me.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And so let's talk about that more. In what ways did you feel when being in that frozen state? What are some ways that you feel like you didn't grow?
I went through phases of like not leaving my house, too scared to leave my house. I wouldn't go into big crowds because I don't know, I have a irrational, maybe not irrational fear someone's gonna just start shooting into a crowd. Or um what else would I do? Me and my husband went out to eat and someone looked like Jake Wagner and he told me I froze and quit eating and we left. Like I was ready to leave. Anytime someone I think looks like Jake Wagner, I follow them. I wouldn't just say, oh, that looks like, who you look like Jake, and then keep going. I would just keep my eye on him, or, um,
This is prior to the arrest
y- no,
or
this was,
even after?
yeah, this is
Even
after.
after, okay, yeah.
This is after.
So
I,
sacrificing, not engaging on in activities.
mm,
Oh, it's almost like, not to be dramatic, but it's kind of like you locked yourself into a prison in a certain way, not leaving your house, not feeling that freedom of enjoying a meal at a restaurant, always looking over your shoulder, leaving if you see someone that, looks like him, all those kind of things.
or even, speaking of like restaurants, I sit where I can see the door, who's coming in, and you know,
Yeah.
which my husband he's the same way. We fight over that seat.
I get that.
Yeah.
If I was there having lunch, I'd be fighting over it with you too. My father was a police officer and then a detective, and he worked on a lot of, violent crime. So I'm the same. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So like, it's great way of describing that you're sort of in this like state of hypervigilance again. And that state can be exhausting, by the way. Like I wonder, it can make you feel depressed. It can lead to pretty serious anxiety. I mean, you're in a state of fear, worrying, uncertainty,
Hmm.
not knowing what's coming next, feeling suspicious, being paranoid in respects,
Or
right?
like one wrong decision I make could completely destroy my life or end it. Like I just, there's things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
One decision or one something that you decide just becomes so heavy with consequences. It's
Or
like,
I used to think of, okay, if I invite these people into my life, are they gonna kill me? Or,
oh, that's like a fear of getting close to people.
yeah, I have that really bad.
Okay, so that's mistrust.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and that sounds to me like part of that comment earlier about kind of stealing your innocence is that it created incredible vulnerability inside of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you say that you're trying to come out of that state, like what does that look for you now? Like if you had to go back, because we're talking, it's been many years, right? What does some of this stuff look like for you in the present?
Um, well, I have started therapy. I've been in
Nice.
therapy for 3 years.
Okay.
Um, I that's helped me a lot. Um, s- Doing things like this helped me.
Good.
talk
How
about
come?
it to, because if someone hears my story, maybe they're going through something, maybe not as serious of what, a murder, but it could be anything, domestic violence, sexual assault, anything. And I don't know. I just don't I want people to know that there is resources, there's people, there's because at 19 I didn't know what to do. I had no good like coping mechanisms, or not that I did like drugs or drink or anything, like but
Yeah,
like
right.
I just isolated. I and I created all these horrible things in my head. You know, um I don't want anybody else to feel that way. I want something good to come from something that happened that was so horrible for me. I want something good to come from it. And me doing these, like doing a podcast or talking to people,
Sure.
just that makes me feel good to know that I can be that person that's there for somebody, because I didn't have anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
There was no resources in the community where there was mental health opportunities for you to connect.
I for some reason here it's so hard to get into therapy. I was on a waiting list for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then one day I went to like my primary doctor and I just started sobbing. I was like, I need to talk to, I need a therapist. Like,
Right.
if there's something you can do to get me in. Um, but honestly, it's been the best thing to happen to me. Now I'm not as, I will start a conversation with somebody. I will, you know, I don't, I don't want to say I'm 100% better, but because
Yeah.
if I seen somebody still and it looked like Jake, I probably would still point that out, or
Right.
I still have things to work on. But
We all do.
yeah.
We all, I'm with you. But it sounds like you're more aware of what's triggering you, and you probably had some time to evaluate your coping skills or your defense mechanisms of avoiding and isolating to protect yourself. And you're sort of like, okay, I'm going to be less avoidant, or I'm going to isolate a little less, put myself back out there into life,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Enjoy life. I wasn't enjoying life for so long.
Hmm.
I was scared too.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. There's no enjoyment in that. Living always in fear. Yeah.
Now I mean, we've went on a cruise. I go and do things now. I go to little festivals now, or I don't want this to be my life. Like, I don't want it to be my life, to
Right.
revolve around my life. I'm ready to move on. Not really move on. I hate to say move on. I don't really know, because I'm not ever going to forget Hannah. I don't know.
Let me help you jump in for a second. How about we say you don't want Jake Wagner to have that power over you anymore?
Yeah,
Is that a better way of saying it? Yeah.
and that's exactly why I want to see him, because I want him to know he doesn't have any power, and
That you're not afraid to be in that courtroom or show your face or talk about the impact.
Mhm,
Like, you don't have power. I'm not going to sit at home. I'm not going to avoid, right? Because you know that you're somewhat avoidant, right? So I'm not going to avoid. I'm here.
mhm,
I'm not hiding at home. I'm not afraid of you anymore. And I'm not going to let you take away things that I want to enjoy in my life.
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. He's not winning.
Yeah.
He's not gonna win. He might
Yep.
think he has, but he's not. He's not gonna win.
I like what you said, that, and I say this as a trauma therapist. We always got to make meaning of the trauma. It has to have some meaning behind it. So that is a really important thing to keep, like, in the forefront of your mind. Just
Mhm.
keep remembering, like, what can I do I have this memory. I hold this person, these people and this person dearly in my heart. How can I keep making meaning out of these horrific, senseless murders.
Mhm.
And then you start to find meaning like this, right? You can come on here, tell your story, talk about the impact, and find other ways too that you can make meaning through it,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, and her son, I want him to know how amazing she was, you
There
know?
you go.
Another thing, I don't want this to be only about his mom being murdered. I want him to know she was more than this,
Yeah,
way more than this. She was amazing, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's normal. I mean, it's sad. It's really sad stuff. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's
Yeah.
like there is way you can celebrate, celebrate her life. And you're right, it's the little things. What were some of those little things that you really enjoyed about her?
I love that I could tell her anything and she wouldn't just go tell everybody, you know?
Loyalty.
Yeah, we could be ourselves, we could joke around, we could go and sit in a dang store on the furniture for an hour and not be bored.
So like, you lost a friend who was non-judgmental, right? And she was loyal. She kept secrets, you know? Yeah, that's a real loss. And those are
Right?
all things I get, you want to be known about her so that this crime doesn't just define her life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to
I
share?
I mean, I don't think I've ever been able to be close enough to somebody like I was with her again.
Oh, oof.
They're like, not to say I don't have any friends, but like I don't have like that anymore.
Yeah, right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, even if you wanted to, I mean, we just talked about the trauma of not trusting someone or being afraid to get attached.
Mm,
And I mean, you were clearly really attached to her. You developed really close friendship. It was someone that was really important to your life. And that was taken away from you.
yeah.
Of course, it's going to give you a moment of pause before you go and, try to build another friendship in that way. That's part of the trauma, right?
Yeah. I'm working on it though.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is but going back to the power, right? You don't want that crime to have the power over you
Yeah.
so that you can, because, having good, solid friends are important.
Mhm.
Well, we're about the end of this um, conversation, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to have any last words or anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to say. I know it's coming up again in the news and
Yeah. Um, I guess really just if anyone who's listening feels that, you know, they have nobody or they don't know what to do over certain things, that you're not alone. You know, there's people that will help you and be there for you and, stuff like that.
so it's okay. You want people to know that it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't. I didn't know. And
yeah.
I definitely want people to know that you're not weak, you're not, no one's gonna look at you a certain way. Asking for help, I think, is one of the bravest things somebody could do.
Agreed. Absolutely. And it was
Well,
really brave of you to come on today and to share your story. And thank you. I appreciate you being so open and vulnerable and honest. I hope this serves as a small part of your recovery and your healing.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you.